12 elite soldiers are trapped in a death trap. No helicopters, no reinforcements, ammunition running low. While the commanders frantically argue, a small despised woman stands quietly in the corner of the tent. They mock her. They think she's lost. They're wrong. When the final distress signal comes over the radio, she steps up and asks for coordinates. No one knows that this despised woman is about to change everything. 25 enemies, 1 gun, 8 minutes. This is a story you can't miss. Follow this story to the end, hit like, and comment on the city you're watching so I know how far my story has come. Now, let's begin. The rain came down in sheets, turning the firebase perimeter into a swamp of red mud and misery. Ridgepoint Forward Base wasn't much to look at even on good days. A collection of canvas tents, sandbag walls, and razor wire carved into a hillside overlooking the valley. But tonight, with the storm hammering down and the radios crackling with broken transmissions, it felt like the edge of the world. Inside the command tent, the air was thick with cigarette smoke and tension. Maps covered every surface, marked with grease pencil in a dozen different colors. Blue for friendly positions, red for enemy contacts, black for unknowns. There were too many black marks. Officers hunched over the tables, arguing in tight voices. Operators checked weapons they couldn't use, paced in circles, stared at radios that offered nothing but static and fear. Captain Evan Rourke stood at the center of it all, jaw clenched, eyes red from lack of sleep. He was 34 but looked 50. 2 tours in Afghanistan, 1 in Iraq, and now this godforsaken jungle assignment that was supposed to be low risk. Advise and assist, train the local forces, stay out of direct action. That was the briefing. That was the lie. "Say again, Echo 1, Rourke barked into the handset, pressing it hard against his ear like he could force clarity through static. "You're breaking up." The radio hissed. A voice came through, distorted, desperate. "Contact from 2 sides, ammo critical, 3 casualties, 1 urgent surgical." The transmission cut out, white noise. Then nothing. Rourke slammed the handset down. "God damn it!" Around him, the tent erupted. Lieutenant Shaw, young and eager and utterly out of his depth, pointed at the map. "We need to send the QRF now, sir. They're 12 clicks out. We can't send shit in this weather," interrupted Master Sergeant Cole, a barrel-chested ranger with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. "Birds are grounded. Roads are washed out. You want to drive trucks through a monsoon into an active firefight? They'll pick us off before we clear the wire." "So we just leave them?" Shaw's voice cracked. "Echo Team is dying out there." "Nobody's leaving anyone," Rourke snapped, but his voice lacked conviction. He turned to the Air Force liaison, a pale captain named Hendricks, who'd been on the radio with the pilots for the last 20 minutes. "What about the Apaches?" Hendricks shook his head. "Negative visibility. Wind shears at 40 knots. They won't fly." "Won't or can't?" "Both, sir." Rourke's fist hit the table. Coffee cups jumped. Silence rippled outward. Near the tent entrance, standing in a shadow cast by a flickering LED lantern, Mara Kessler listened. She was easy to miss, 5'4" in mud-caked boots, rain jacket 2 sizes too big, dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. No rank insignia, no unit patch, just a contractor badge clipped to her collar, the kind of generic ID that could mean anything from IT support to administrative logistics. A few Marines stood near her, smoking, trying not to look worried. One of them, a corporal with a baby face and Louisiana accent, glanced her way and smirked. "You lost, ma'am." His buddy elbowed him. "Dude, she's probably intel. Like PowerPoint intel." They both laughed, low and nervous. Mara didn't react. Her eyes stayed on the windsock outside, hanging limp and heavy in the rain. Her fingers rested on the straps of her pack, a battered Eberly stock with custom stitching along the seams, worn in places where weight had been carried for years. The radio crackled again. "They're pushing through the South Ridge. Need fire support. Anyone?" Gunfire rattled through the speaker. Voices shouted over each other. Then the transmission died again. Rourke turned to Cole. "What's their last known position?" Cole traced a finger along the map. "Grid November Tango 7421. They were moving through a bowl formation, triple canopy jungle, no overhead cover. Ambush point was probably here." He tapped a ridgeline. "High ground advantage. Kill zone below. Terrain. Steep, rocky, limited egress routes. They're boxed in. Rourke ran a hand through his hair. How many hostiles? Echo estimated 30 plus. Small arms, at least 2 PKMs, RPGs confirmed. Shaw leaned in. Sir, if we... I said no ground movement. Rourke cut him off. Not in this. We'd lose 2 teams instead of 1. Then what do we do? Shaw's voice rose. Just wait? We wait for the weather to break. They don't have that kind of time. Rourke spun on him. Then what's your genius plan, Lieutenant? You want to run into the jungle in 0 visibility and get cut down? You want to be a hero? Because I've got a dozen heroes already bleeding out on that ridge. Shaw stepped back, face pale. The tent went quiet except for the rain hammering canvas overhead like artillery fire. Mara's voice cut through the silence, soft and level. They're running out of time. Every head turned. Rourke blinked like he'd forgotten she was there. What? Echo team, Mara said, not moving from her spot near the entrance. They're running out of time. 3 casualties, 1 urgent surgical. That means internal bleeding, probably shrapnel. Maybe 30 minutes before he codes, if they're lucky. Rourke stared at her. Who the hell are you? Contractor, intelligence liaison. Cole snorted. Intel doesn't know field trauma timelines. Mara's eyes shifted to him, calm and unwavering. I do. For a moment, nobody spoke. The Louisiana corporal whispered to his buddy, She's got balls, I'll give her that. Rourke shook his head, dismissing her. Ma'am, with all due respect, this is a tactical situation. Unless you've got a satellite feed that shows us a clear route or air support that can fly through a hurricane, I need you to step back and let us work. I don't have a satellite, Mara said quietly, but I have coordinates. We already have coordinates. I mean theirs, the shooters. Rourke's eyes narrowed. How would you... I've been listening. Echoes transmissions, background noise, gunfire cadence. They're engaging from elevated positions, 2 primary firing points, north-northeast ridge, roughly 800 meters from Echo's position. Second position southwest, closer, maybe 500. Terrain funnels Echo into a natural kill box, classic L-shaped ambush. Cole stepped forward, arms crossed. That's a guess. It's an analysis. Mara's voice didn't change. The machine gun fire is sustained, overlapping fields. That's coordinated. They're not random. They're dug in. Rourke exchanged a glance with Cole. Even if you're right, we can't reach them. I can. The tent went still. Shaw laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. You? Mara finally moved, shifting her pack higher on her shoulders. Yes. Rourke opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at her, really looked, and saw nothing impressive. A small woman in contractor gear, calm to the point of unsettling. No bravado, no fire, just quiet certainty. Ma'am, he said slowly, are you saying you want to go out there? I'm saying I can help. Cole shook his head. You're intel. You push papers. I do more than that. Yeah? Like what? The Marine corporal grinned. You gonna file a report on the bad guys? Mara turned to him. Her expression didn't change, but something in her eyes made the grin die. I'm going to kill them. The tent went dead silent. Rourke's face hardened. This isn't a joke. I'm not joking. You're a civilian. I'm a contractor, different thing. Contractors don't conduct offensive operations. This isn't offensive, it's support. Rourke's jaw worked. He glanced at Cole, who looked equally baffled. Support with what? A rifle you've never fired? Mara's eyes drifted to the map, to the ridgeline Cole had marked. I've fired plenty. In training. In situations like this. Bullshit! The word came from Shaw, sharp and angry. We've been here 6 months. Nobody's heard of you. You sit in the intel tent and process reports. That's it. Mara met his eyes. That's what you see. Shaw flushed red. Who do you think you are? Someone who can help. Rourke held up a hand. Enough. Ma'am, I appreciate whatever it is you think you're offering, but this is a direct action scenario. We're talking combat operations. Echo Team is made up of Navy SEALs, Tier 1 operators. If they're getting hammered, it's not something a contractor with good intentions is going to fix. I'm not offering good intentions, Mara said. I'm offering precision. Precision? Cole barked a laugh. Lady, you'd cry the first time you pulled a trigger under fire. Mara didn't respond to that. She just looked at him, patient and still, like she was waiting for him to finish. Rourke rubbed his temples. Look, I don't know what your clearance is or what you think your job description includes, but you're not trained for this. You're not equipped. You're not authorized. The answer is no. Mara nodded slowly. Understood. She turned and walked toward the tent flap. Rourke frowned. Where are you going? To get some air. It's pouring. I like the rain. She pushed through the canvas and stepped outside. The storm hit her immediately, drenching her in seconds, but she didn't flinch. She just walked, boots sinking into mud, posture steady, heading toward the perimeter wire. Inside the tent, the Marines watched her go. The corporal whistled low. That chick is weird, Cole grunted. She's delusional, probably thinks she's going to Rambo her way into the jungle. Shaw shook his head. We should stop her. She'll get herself killed. Rourke stared at the tent entrance, uneasy. She won't go far. Nobody's that stupid. But even as he said it, he wasn't sure. The radio cracked again, Echo's voice, hoarse and fraying. Closing from two sides, running dry. Need immediate... Gunfire, screaming, static. Rourke grabbed the handset. Echo 1. This is Ridgepoint Actual. Hold your position. Air support is inbound. It was a lie. Everyone in the tent knew it. On the other end, someone shouted for a tourniquet. Another voice called for suppressing fire. The transmission cut, then came back fragmented. Losing him. Need urgent. Then nothing. Rourke slammed the handset down again, harder this time. His hands were shaking. Outside, Mara crossed the open ground between the command tent and the wire. Rain hammered her jacket, ran down her face, soaked through her boots. She didn't hurry. She moved with purpose, calm and measured, like she was walking to a meeting. At the perimeter gate, a sentry stepped out of a guard shack, rifle slung, looking miserable. Ma'am, you can't go out there. Mara stopped. I'm not asking permission. It's not safe. I know. The sentry hesitated. He was maybe 19, fresh-faced, scared. Orders are nobody leaves the wire without clearance. Mara looked at him, really looked, and her voice softened just slightly. What's your name? PFC Daniels, ma'am. Daniels, how long have you been here? 3 months. You know Echo Team? He nodded. Yes, ma'am. Good guys. They helped train us when we got here. They're dying right now. Daniel swallowed hard. I know, but I can't. I'm not asking you to come with me, Mara said. I'm asking you to look the other way. Ma'am, 30 seconds. That's all I need. Just 30 seconds where you're not watching this gate. Daniel stared at her, torn. Rain dripped off his helmet. Finally, he looked down, shoulders sagging. I didn't see anything. Thank you. Mara slipped past him, through the wire and into the darkness beyond. The jungle swallowed her whole. Daniel stood there, staring at the rain, heart pounding. After a long moment, he keyed his radio. Ridgepoint. Actual, this is Gate 2. Rourke's voice came back immediately. Go ahead. That contractor lady just walked off the base. Silence. Then sharply. What? She walked past me, sir, into the jungle. I tried to stop her, but... God damn it! Rourke's voice exploded through the radio. Which direction? North, toward the valley. Another pause. Then Cole's voice, incredulous. She's going to Echo's position. Rourke swore long and creatively. Get her back, now. Daniels keyed the mic. Sir, she's already gone. I can't see her. Then send a team after her. In this weather? Sir, we can't. I don't care. That woman is going to get herself killed, and when she does, it's on us. Move. But even as the orders went out, everyone knew it was too late. The jungle was dark, the rain relentless, visibility near zero. Finding one person in that mess was impossible. Inside the command tent, Rourke stood frozen, staring at the map, at the ridgeline where Echo Team was trapped. At the valley between here and there, 8 clicks of dense, hostile terrain. Shaw spoke quietly. "She's insane." Cole nodded. "She won't make it 100 meters." Rourke didn't answer. He just kept staring at the map, at the coordinates Mara had recited from memory, and felt something cold settle in his gut. Because she hadn't hesitated, hadn't argued, hadn't tried to convince anyone. She'd just walked out, like she'd done it before. Mom. The jungle at night was a living thing, breathing, shifting, full of sounds that didn't belong. Mara moved through it like water, smooth and silent, boots finding purchase on slick roots, hands parting vines without disturbing them. The rain helped, masking her movement, drowning out the small noises that would have given her away. She moved uphill, following terrain features she'd memorized from the map. No GPS, no night vision, just experience and instinct, honed over years in places most people never knew existed. Her pack rode high and tight, balanced perfectly. Inside, a disassembled rifle, custom-built, no markings. Ammunition, rangefinder, weather meter, notebook. Everything she needed, nothing she didn't. The rain soaked through her jacket, plastered her hair to her skull, turned the ground into a slide. She didn't fight it, she used it, moving with the water's flow, letting the storm hide her. After 20 minutes, she paused, listened. Distant gunfire. Sporadic. Desperate. Echo Team was still fighting. Mara adjusted her pack and kept moving. The valley opened up below her, a black void split by flashes of muzzle fire. She could see the fight now, small bursts of light in the darkness, tracer rounds arcing red and green. The SEALs were dug in on low ground, pinned from 2 sides, exactly as she'd predicted. She scanned the ridge lines, found the first firing position, a rocky outcrop 800 meters north-northeast. Machine gun nest. 2, maybe 3 shooters. Overlapping fields of fire. Second position, southwest ridge. Closer. 500 meters. Smaller. Probably a support element with RPGs. Mara did the math in her head. Wind speed. Humidity. Temperature. Barometric pressure. All of it factored into the equation. She found a spot beneath an overhang, sheltered from the rain, with a clear line of sight to both positions. Perfect. She knelt, shrugged off her pack, and began assembling her rifle with practiced hands. The pieces fit together smoothly. Bolt, barrel, stock, optic. No fumbling, no hesitation. Muscle memory from 1,000 repetitions. When it was ready, she settled into position, prone, rifle resting on a makeshift bipod formed from her pack. She adjusted the scope, dialed in the elevation, accounted for wind drift. Then she keyed a small radio clipped to her chest. Encrypted frequency, the one Echo Team would be monitoring, her voice calm and low. "Echo Team, this is Overwatch. Keep your heads down." Static, confusion. Then a voice, breathless and disbelieving. "Who the hell is this?" "Friendly support. Do not move from your position. I'm engaging hostiles now." "Engaging? Where are you?" "Doesn't matter. Stay low." She clicked off before they could respond. Below, the firefight continued. The machine gun opened up, raking Echo's position. Muzzle flash gave her a perfect signature. Mara exhaled slowly. Her heartbeat steadied. The world narrowed to the crosshairs, the wind, the distance. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked softly. The suppressor swallowed most of the sound, leaving just a muted crack that the rain devoured. 800 meters away, the machine gunner's head snapped back. He dropped without a sound. 1. The assistant gunner reached for the weapon. Mara's second shot took him through the chest before his hand touched the grip. 2. Panic rippled through the enemy position. Voices shouted in a language Mara didn't need to understand. They thought it was counter-sniper fire. They started to reposition. Mara tracked a figure moving toward cover. Squad leader, probably. Carrying a radio. She fired. He went down mid-step. 3. Below, Echo Team's leader came back on the radio, voice tight with awe. "Overwatch, confirm you're taking targets?" "Confirmed." "How many shooters do you have?" 1. "Say again?" "1 shooter, me. Stay in cover." Silence. Then, "Roger that." Mara shifted her aim to the southwest position. The RPG team was setting up for another shot, silhouetted against the distant lightning. She could see three of them: loader, gunner, spotter. She took the gunner first. Center mass. He folded. 4. The loader froze, confused. Mara's next shot found him before he could react. 5. The spotter ran. Bad move. Mara led him, accounted for his speed, fired. He tumbled down the slope. 6. The enemy formation was fracturing now. They knew someone was picking them off, but they couldn't find the source, couldn't pinpoint the shooter. The rain and darkness worked against them, hiding Mara's muzzle flash, scattering sound. She worked methodically. Radio operators. Anyone with a handset or antenna. Squad leaders, the ones giving orders, coordinating movement. Heavy weapons, RPGs, machine guns, anything that could hurt Echo Team. 7, 8, 9, 10. Each shot was deliberate. No wasted rounds, no missed targets. Just clean clinical execution. 11, 12, 13. The enemy push stalled. They were shouting now, confused, breaking formation. Some tried to advance. Mara dropped them. Some tried to retreat. She dropped them too. 14, 15, 16. Echo Team seized the moment, suppressing fire lanced out from their position, disciplined and controlled. They were rallying, using the chaos to regroup. Mara kept firing. A figure darted between trees. She tracked, led, fired. He went down hard. 17. Another tried to flank. She read his movement, anticipated his path, put a round through his chest before he cleared the tree line. 18. The radio crackled. Echo's leader again. Overwatch, we're setting up for extraction. Can you cover our movement? Affirmative. Mark your route. Moving east, 100 meters to LZ Alpha. Copy. You're clear to move in 30 seconds. She scanned the ridge, found another target, sniper, trying to get an angle on Echo's position. She fired before he could settle. 19. A group of 3 tried to rush Echo's flank. Mara took them in sequence: lead, trail, middle. 3 shots, 3 seconds, 20, 21, 22. The enemy formation collapsed. Whoever was in charge, if anyone still was, called a retreat. Fighters melted back into the jungle, abandoning weapons, abandoning wounded, just running. Mara tracked a few more, took the ones who posed a threat. 23, 24, 25. Then silence. The jungle went still except for the rain. Mara scanned through her optic, breathing slow and even, searching for movement. Nothing. The fight was over. She keyed her radio. Echo Team, area is clear. You're free to move. Overwatch, we're moving now. Where are you? We need to link up. Negative, continue to LZ, extraction inbound. We're not leaving without you. Mara almost smiled. I'm not going with you. What? Who the hell are you? Just a contractor. She clicked off, started disassembling her rifle. The pieces came apart as smoothly as they'd gone together, packed away with efficient care. As she worked, movement caught her eye. 300 meters, low and fast. 3 fighters separated from the main group trying to circle back toward Echo's last position. Mara reassembled the rifle in 15 seconds flat. Settled back into position. Waited. They came into view, moving in a loose wedge formation, weapons up. Professionals. Or at least trained. Mara didn't hesitate. 3 shots, 3 bodies. The jungle swallowed the sound. She finished packing, shouldered her rifle, and started moving downhill. Toward Echo Team. Toward the men she'd just saved. Toward questions she wouldn't answer. And as she walked, something slipped from her pack. A small metallic object that hit the ground with a soft clink, half buried in mud and leaves. A coin. Old, worn, engraved with symbols that meant everything to the men who carried them, and nothing to anyone else. The coin lay in the mud, half buried, rainwater pooling around it. Mara didn't notice it was gone. She was already 50 meters downhill, moving through the dark with the same quiet efficiency that had carried her through the last hour. Echo Team's position came into view, a depression in the terrain surrounded by fallen logs and torn vegetation. Smoke hung in the air despite the rain, mixing with the smell of cordite and blood. The SEALs had formed a defensive perimeter, weapons pointed outward, every man tense and ready. They heard her before they saw her, boots on wet ground, deliberate and unhurried. "Contact, 2 o'clock," someone hissed. Rifles swung toward the sound. Red dots danced across the tree line. Mara stopped at the edge of the clearing, hands visible, rifle slung across her back. "Echo team, it's Overwatch. Don't shoot." For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then a figure rose from behind a log, tall, broad-shouldered, face painted in camo that rain had started to streak. Chief Petty Officer Jake Hendricks, Echo team leader. He lowered his rifle slowly, eyes narrowed. "Step into the light." Mara moved forward into the faint glow of a chem light someone had cracked. The SEALs got their first look at her, small, soaked, wearing civilian contractor gear that looked 2 sizes too big. No body armor, no helmet, just a rain jacket, cargo pants, and boots that had seen better days. Hendricks stared. "You've got to be kidding me." Mara stopped 10 feet away. "You're clear to move to the LZ. Extraction should be inbound now that the weather's breaking. Who are you?" "Mara Kessler, contractor, intelligence liaison." "Intelligence." Hendricks said the word like it tasted bad. "You're telling me Intel just dropped 20-plus hostiles from 800 meters out?" 25, Mara corrected quietly. One of the other SEALs, a wiry operator with a Tennessee accent, let out a low whistle. "Holy shit." Hendricks didn't look away from Mara. "That was you? All of it?" "Yes." "One shooter?" "Yes." He shook his head slowly, like he was trying to process information that didn't compute. Behind him, a SEAL was working on a wounded man, the urgent surgical case Mara had mentioned back at base. The medic had lines running, tourniquets applied, but the guy's face was gray. Not good. Mara's eyes flicked to the casualty. "How's he doing?" "Stable for now," the medic said without looking up. His name tape read Mills, but he needs a surgeon, soon. "Bird's coming, 15 minutes. Mills glanced up sharply. "How do you know that?" "Because the storm's moving east and Ridgepoint just cleared the Blackhawks for flight. They were waiting for a break in the weather." Hendricks crossed his arms. "You got a direct line to command?" "No, I just know how they think." Another SEAL, this one with a shaved head and a scar running down his jaw, stepped closer. His name tape read Carver. "Chief, this doesn't make sense. Contractors don't do offensive ops. They don't carry custom rifles. They definitely don't pull off shots like that." Mara met his eyes. "I'm not like most contractors." "Yeah, no shit." Carver's tone wasn't hostile, just confused. "So what are you? CIA? Special activities?" "No." "Then what?" "Someone who helps when help is needed." Carver snorted. "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Hendricks raised a hand, cutting off the exchange. He studied Mara for a long moment, reading her the way he'd read terrain, enemies, threats. Finally, he spoke. "You walked 8 clicks through hostile jungle, in a storm, alone. Set up a hide, engaged multiple targets with precision fire, provided overwatch for an extraction, and now you're standing here like it's just another Tuesday." Mara didn't respond. "So either you're the most underutilized contractor in the Department of Defense," Hendricks continued, "or you're something else entirely. Does it matter?" "Yeah, it does. Because I need to know who just saved my team." Mara looked past him, toward the wounded SEAL. Someone who didn't want good men to die for no reason. Hendricks held her gaze a moment longer, then nodded slowly. "Fair enough." The Tennessee SEAL, Nash, according to his tape, stepped forward, extending a hand. "I don't care who you are. You pulled our asses out of the fire. Thank you." Mara shook his hand. His grip was firm, respectful. "You're welcome." One by one, the other SEALs followed. Carver, Mills, a younger operator named Reyes. Each handshake was brief, but the message was clear. Respect earned, debt acknowledged. Hendricks was the last. His handshake lingered a moment longer. "We owe you." "No," Mara said quietly. "You don't." "The hell we don't. You saved 6 lives tonight. You would have done the same." "Maybe. But we didn't. You did." He released her hand, then reached into a pouch on his vest, pulled out a small object, a coin, identical to the one Mara had lost. You know what this is? Mara nodded. Team Legacy. That's right. We don't give these out lightly. Earn one and your family. He held it out. You earned this. Mara stared at the coin. Rain dripped off its edges, catching the dim light. For a moment, something flickered across her face. Emotion, memory, something old and buried. Then it was gone. She shook her head gently. I can't take that. Why not? Because I'm not on a team. You were tonight. Tonight was an exception. Hendricks didn't lower the coin. Take it anyway. You don't have to carry it, just know it's yours. Mara looked at him, then at the coin, then back at him. Finally, she reached out and took it. The metal was warm from his hand. Thank you. Thank you, Hendricks corrected. In the distance, the unmistakable thump of helicopter rotors cut through the rain. The Blackhawks were inbound. Nash grinned. About damn time. Mills began prepping the casualty for movement, checking lines, securing bandages. The other SEALs collapsed their perimeter, gathered weapons and gear. Discipline and training taking over, turning chaos into smooth choreography. Mara stepped back, giving them space. She was turning to leave when Carver called out. Hey, where you going? Back to base. Walk with us. You can catch a ride on the bird. I'll walk. Carver frowned. It's 8 clicks through hostile terrain. You just shot up a whole platoon. There might be survivors looking for payback. There won't be. How do you know? Because I made sure of it. The words hung in the air, cold and certain. Carver blinked, processing. Then he nodded slowly. Right. Okay then. Mara adjusted her pack. Good luck, Chief. Hendricks nodded. You too. And Kessler? She paused. If you ever want to come work with real shooters, you know where to find us. A ghost of a smile touched Mara's lips. I'll keep that in mind. She turned and melted back into the jungle. Within seconds, the darkness swallowed her whole, like she'd never been there at all. The SEALs stood in silence, watching the spot where she'd disappeared. Finally, Nash spoke. That woman is a goddamn ghost. Hendricks pocketed the coin he'd offered, the one Mara had taken, but somehow left behind in his palm without him noticing. He stared at it, brow furrowed. Yeah, she is. Think we'll see her again? I don't know, but I hope so. The Blackhawks descended into the clearing, rotors whipping rain and debris into a frenzy. The SEALs loaded their wounded, secured their gear, and climbed aboard. Within minutes, they were airborne, heading back to base. Below, the jungle breathed. And somewhere in its depths, Mara Kessler walked alone. Ridgepoint Forward Base was chaos when the birds touched down. Medics swarmed the wounded SEAL, wheeling him toward the surgical tent at a run. Officers barked questions. Operators stood by, weapons ready, scanning for threats that weren't there anymore. Captain Rourke pushed through the crowd, face flushed, eyes wild. Hendricks, report. The SEAL chief climbed out of the Blackhawk, mud-streaked and exhausted. All personnel accounted for. 1 urgent surgical, 2 walking wounded. Enemy forces neutralized. Neutralized how? We didn't send air support. No, sir. You sent something better. Rourke blinked. What? Hendricks met his eyes. The contractor, Kessler. She showed up, set up Overwatch, and dropped every hostile in the kill zone. 25 confirmed. 8-minute engagement. 1 shooter. The crowd went silent. Rourke stared. That's not possible. I watched it happen, sir. We all did. Master Sergeant Cole stepped forward. Chief, with all due respect, you're telling me a 5'0" intel contractor just conducted a solo direct action op and killed 24 enemy fighters. That's exactly what I'm telling you. That's insane, Hendricks shrugged. Insane or not, it's the truth. Lieutenant Shaw pushed in, face red. Where is she now? She left, walked back through the jungle. Alone? That's how she does things, apparently. Rourke ran a hand through his hair, looking like a man who'd just had his entire worldview shattered. I need to debrief her, immediately. Good luck finding her, Carver said, stepping off the bird. She moves like smoke. Cole's eyes narrowed. What do you mean, like smoke? I mean, we lost visual on her 3 times while she was standing 20 feet away. The woman knows how to disappear. Rourke turned to one of his staff officers. Find her. Check the intel tent, the billeting area, anywhere she might be. I want her in my office in 10 minutes. The officer saluted and ran off. Rourke turned back to Hendricks. Did she say anything? Give you any indication who she really is? Hendricks hesitated. No, sir, but she knew what she was doing. Training like that doesn't come from PowerPoint slides. What kind of training are we talking about? Sniper, long-range precision, fieldcraft, tactical decision-making under pressure. She's Tier 1, sir, or was. Tier 1? Rourke's voice cracked. She's a goddamn contractor. Then she's the most dangerous contractor I've ever met. Rourke opened his mouth to respond, but the staff officer came running back, breathless. Sir, she's not in the intel tent, or her billet, or anywhere else we've checked. Then check again. Sir, we've looked everywhere. She's not on base. What do you mean she's not on base? She just walked in, right? She had to come through the gate. The officer shook his head. Nobody saw her come in, sir. Gate guards say she never passed through. Rourke turned to Hendricks. When did she leave your position? Right before we loaded onto the birds, maybe 20 minutes ago. And it's 8 clicks from here to the LZ. Yes, sir. Rourke did the math in his head. There was no way. Not on foot, not through that terrain, not in 20 minutes. Unless she wasn't on foot. Unless she'd never left the base. He turned and strode toward the command tent, mind racing. Inside, the map still covered the tables, grease pencil marks recording a battle that had somehow resolved itself. Rourke stared at the marks, then at the radio, then at the corner where Mara had stood hours earlier. Cole followed him in. Sir, what are you thinking? I'm thinking we don't know a damn thing about her. Should we run her credentials? Check her background? Do it. Full workup. I want to know who she is, where she came from, what her clearance actually covers. Cole nodded and left. Rourke stood alone in the tent, staring at the maps, replaying the night's events in his head. The way she'd analyzed the ambush, the calm certainty in her voice, the way she'd walked out into a storm without hesitation, the way she'd come back without anyone seeing her. A chill ran down his spine. 2 hours later, Cole returned with a file folder. Thin. Too thin. Rourke looked up from his desk. What have you got? Cole set the folder down. Not much. Mara Kessler, age 32, contractor with Sentinel Global Solutions. Clearance, secret. Job description. Intelligence liaison and analysis. Been deployed here for 6 months. Before that, 2 years in Africa, 1 in Eastern Europe. Prior to contracting, no military service on record. No military service? None. That's impossible. She shoots like someone with a decade of training. I know, sir, but there's nothing in her file. Rourke flipped through the pages. Standard contractor paperwork, background check, security clearance. All surface level, nothing deep, nothing that explained what he'd just witnessed. What about her references? 2 names, both redacted. Rourke looked up sharply. Redacted? Yes, sir, above our clearance level. Above a base commander's clearance? Cole nodded. Rourke stared at the file. Run her name through DoD databases. See if anything pops. Already did. Nothing. Special Operations Command? Nothing. CIA? DIA? Sir, if she's with an agency, they're not sharing. Rourke slammed the file shut. So we've got a contractor with no military record, redacted references, and skills that match Tier 1 operators. Does that sound right to you? No, sir. It sounds like a cover. For what? Cole didn't answer. He didn't need to. They both knew. Rourke leaned back in his chair, exhausted. Find her. I don't care how. I want answers. And if she doesn't want to give them, then we make it clear she doesn't have a choice. Cole hesitated. Sir, with respect, if she's what I think she is, we're not in a position to make demands. What do you think she is? Someone we don't want as an enemy. Rourke met his eyes. Then it's a good thing she's on our side. Is she? The question hung in the air. Mara stood in the shadows outside the command tent, listening. She'd been there for 10 minutes, watching, waiting. When the conversation ended and Cole left, She waited another 5 before stepping into the light. Rourke was hunched over his desk, rubbing his temples, when she knocked softly on the tent frame. He looked up, startled. Jesus, how long have you been there? Long enough. Rourke stood quickly. I've been looking for you. I know. Where the hell were you? Around. His jaw tightened. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Rourke stepped around the desk, closing the distance. Ms. Kessler, I need to debrief you on tonight's operation. You conducted an unauthorized... It wasn't unauthorized. You needed help. I helped. You're a contractor. You don't have the authority. Authority is just permission from people who weren't there, Mara said quietly. Echo Team needed support. I provided it. That's all. That's not all. You killed 25 people. 25 enemy combatants who were trying to kill our guys. Yes. Rourke's hands clenched. Who are you? You've read my file. Your file is bullshit. Mara didn't react. I want the truth, Rourke pressed. Who trained you? Where did you serve? What's your real clearance? My clearance is secret. My job is intelligence liaison. Everything else is irrelevant. It's not irrelevant when you're operating outside your scope. I stayed well within my scope. Your scope is reports and analysis. My scope, Mara said, voice hardening slightly, is whatever keeps our people alive. Rourke stepped closer, lowering his voice. Listen to me very carefully. I'm grateful for what you did tonight, truly. But this base operates on rules, regulations, and chain of command. If you go rogue again, I'll have you pulled from theater and sent home. Do you understand? Mara met his eyes, calm and unyielding. Yes, sir. Good. But you should know something. What? If the same situation happens again, I'll do the same thing, because rules don't save lives. Actions do. Rourke's face flushed. That's insubordination. I'm not military. I can't be insubordinate. You can be fired. Then fire me. The words hung between them, a challenge and a dare. Rourke stared at her, furious and helpless, because they both knew the truth. He couldn't fire her. Not after tonight, not after she'd saved 6 SEALs and prevented a catastrophic loss. Finally, he stepped back. Get out of my tent. Mara nodded once and turned to leave. Kessler. She paused at the entrance. Who are you, really? Mara looked back over her shoulder. For just a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Something old, something dangerous, something that had seen things Rourke couldn't imagine. Then it was gone. Someone who's very good at her job, she said softly. That's all you need to know. She stepped out into the rain and disappeared. Rourke stood alone in the tent, hands shaking with adrenaline and frustration. He wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, wanted answers that wouldn't come. Instead, he sat down heavily and stared at the thin file on his desk. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a thought formed, quiet and unsettling. What if she's not the only one? The intel tent was dark when Mara returned. She moved through it silently, past rows of computers and filing cabinets, to a small corner desk that was technically hers but rarely used. She sat down, pulled out the coin Hendricks had given her, and set it on the desk. The metal caught the faint glow from a distant lamp, reflecting light in small, sharp points. She stared at it for a long time. Then she reached into her jacket and pulled out another coin, older, more worn, edges smoothed by years of handling. Different symbols, different team, different life. She set the 2 coins side by side. For a moment, her mask slipped. The calm, controlled expression gave way to something deeper. Grief, maybe. Or regret. Or just exhaustion from carrying too many memories for too many years. Then she swept both coins into her hand, pocketed them, and stood. Outside, the storm was finally breaking. The rain had softened to a drizzle. Clouds parted to reveal stars. Mara walked to the perimeter, past the gate where young PFC Daniels stood watch. He saw her coming and straightened. Ma'am? At ease, Daniels. He relaxed slightly. I heard what you did. For Echo Team. You heard wrong. I didn't do anything. But they said, they're mistaken. Daniels frowned, confused. Then he nodded slowly. Right. Of course. Mara almost smiled. You're a good kid, Daniels. Stay that way. Yes, ma'am. She walked past him, through the wire, into the darkness beyond. Daniels watched her go, just like he had hours earlier. Except this time, he didn't call it in, didn't report her leaving. Because somehow, deep down, he understood. Some people didn't follow rules. Some people were the reason rules existed in the first place. And some people were something else entirely. In the surgical tent, the wounded SEAL opened his eyes. Mills was there, checking vitals, adjusting IV drips. Hey, the SEAL croaked. Did we make it? Mills smiled. Yeah, brother. We made it. How? Someone was looking out for us. Who? Mills hesitated. I'm not sure, but whoever she was, she saved our asses. The SEAL closed his eyes, exhausted. Tell her, thanks. I would, but she's gone. Gone where? Mills looked toward the tent entrance, toward the jungle beyond. I don't think anyone knows. Far from base, in a clearing no map would show, Mara sat on a fallen log and field-stripped her rifle. The movements were automatic, practiced, soothing in their routine. She worked in silence, surrounded by jungle sounds, insects, distant birds, the rustle of leaves. No radio, no voices, just her and the darkness. When the rifle was clean, she reassembled it and packed it away. Then she pulled out a small notebook, leather-bound, worn at the edges, and opened it to a blank page. She wrote a single line in neat, precise handwriting. Echo Team. 25. 8 minutes. All alive. She closed the notebook and tucked it back into her pack. Then she stood, shouldered her gear, and started walking. Not back to base. Not to anywhere official. Just walking. Because that's what she did. What she'd always done. Move, help, disappear. No thanks needed. No recognition wanted. Just the knowledge that good men lived to fight another day. And somewhere, in the mud where she'd saved them, a coin lay forgotten. Half buried, rain-washed, waiting for someone to find it and wonder. Waiting for questions that would never be answered. Because Mara Kessler was already gone. And the jungle kept her secrets. The coin stayed buried for 3 days. Rain came and went. Patrols passed within meters of it, boots squelching through mud, eyes scanning tree lines, never looking down. The jungle reclaimed the clearing where Echo Team had nearly died. Vines creeping back, leaves settling, blood washing away into soil that had seen too much of it. On the 4th day, a Marine fire team swept through on a routine patrol. Lance Corporal Davis, point man, spotted something glinting in a shaft of sunlight. He knelt, brushed away mud, and held up the coin. Hey, Sergeant, check this out. Staff Sergeant Ortega took it, turned it over in his palm. His expression changed. Holy shit. What is it? SEAL Team coin, legacy piece. These don't just fall out of pockets. Maybe someone dropped it during the fight. Ortega shook his head slowly. SEALs don't drop these. Ever. It's like losing a piece of your soul. He pocketed the coin carefully. We're taking this back. Someone's gonna want it. When the patrol returned to Ridgepoint, Ortega went straight to the SEAL compound, a cluster of hardened tents and Connex boxes on the base's eastern perimeter. He found Hendricks cleaning weapons with Nash and Carver. Chief, found something you might want. Ortega held out the coin. Hendricks froze mid-stroke, brush hovering over his rifle. He set the weapon down slowly and took the coin. His thumb traced the symbols, the worn edges. Where? Grid November, Tango 7421. The kill zone. Hendricks' jaw tightened. That's where we got hit. Yes, Chief? Nash leaned over, saw the coin, and went pale. That's not one of ours. What do you mean? Ortega asked. Carver stood up. Our coins have serial numbers, unit identifiers. This one, he took it from Hendricks, examined it closely. This one's old, really old. Look at the wear pattern, and these symbols. I don't recognize the unit. Hendricks pulled out his own coin for comparison. Similar design, but different, newer. The found coin was weathered in ways that spoke of years, not months. Decades, maybe. She dropped it, Hendricks said quietly. Who? Kessler, the contractor. She was there. She must have dropped it. Nash frowned. Why would a contractor have a seal coin, and one this old? Nobody answered. The question hung in the air like smoke. Carver turned the coin over again. Chief, these symbols, I've seen them before. In the archives at Coronado, photos from the 90s, early 2000s, teams that don't exist anymore. Black programs? Maybe. Or units that got rolled into other commands. Point is, this coin is from something that's been buried for a long time. Hendricks stared at it, mind working through possibilities he didn't want to consider. She said she wasn't on a team. She lied, Carver said flatly. Or she used to be, and now she's not. Nash scratched his jaw. Question is, what kind of team gives you skills like that and then lets you walk away to become a contractor? Ortega shifted uncomfortably. Sirs, should I report this? Hendricks closed his fist around the coin. No, this stays between us. But if she's... I said it stays between us. Hendricks's voice carried weight that killed the argument. Understood? Ortega nodded. Yes, Chief. After he left, the three SEALs sat in silence. Finally, Nash spoke. We should find her. Ask her directly. She won't answer, Carver said. How do you know? Because people like that don't answer questions. They disappear when you get too close. Hendricks pocketed the coin. Then we don't get too close. We just keep an eye out. For what? For when she needs us. Nash raised an eyebrow. You think she'll need us? Hendricks smiled grimly. Everyone needs someone eventually. That night, Ridgepoint Forward Base erupted. It started with radio chatter, fragmented, urgent, coming from a patrol 15 clicks north. Then the operations center lit up like Christmas, every screen flashing red, every radio channel screaming for attention. Rourke was asleep when they dragged him out of his rack. He stumbled into the command tent in unlaced boots and rumpled uniform, eyes bleary. What's happening? Cole was already there, face grim. We've got a situation. Recon Patrol Delta 3 found something, a compound, hidden in the valley northwest of here. What kind of compound? Fortified. Bunkers, fighting positions, supply caches, big operation. They counted at least 50 hostiles, maybe more. Rourke's brain snapped into focus. 50? Intel said the area was clear. Intel was wrong. Cole pulled up drone footage on a laptop. Grainy thermal images showed a sprawling complex carved into a hillside. Buildings, trenches, guard towers. This isn't just a staging area. This is command and control. Whoever's running operations in this valley, they're doing it from here. Rourke leaned closer, studying the images. Where's Delta 3 now? Observation post, 2 clicks south of the compound. They're dug in, but they got compromised. Enemy patrols are sweeping the area. They're requesting immediate extraction. Send the QRF. Already scrambled, but there's a problem. Of course there is. Cole tapped the screen. The compound sits in a natural choke point. Only one approach route that won't expose our guys to overlapping fire, and it's covered by at least 3 machine gun positions. We try to push through, we'll get shredded. Rourke rubbed his face. What about air support? Apaches are 10 minutes out, but visibility's shit. Cloud cover. They can't get a clear shot without danger close risk to Delta 3. So we're stuck. Unless we can suppress those machine guns. Rourke looked at the map, at the terrain, at the distances. A sick feeling settled in his gut. We need a sniper. We don't have one organic to the base. Closest is at Camp Falcon, 40 clicks south. That's too far. Cole's eyes flicked toward the tent entrance. We might have one closer. Rourke followed his gaze. No, absolutely not. Sir, she's qualified, more than qualified. She's a contractor. She's the only option. I don't even know where she is. I do. The voice came from behind them. Hendricks stepped into the tent, Nash and Carver flanking him. She's at the east perimeter, near the motor pool. I saw her 20 minutes ago. Rourke spun. You've been tracking her? Not tracking, just aware. Why? Hendricks pulled out the coin, set it on the table. Because I want to know who she really is. Rourke stared at the coin, then at Hendricks. You think she'll help? I think if you ask, she'll say no. But if you make it clear Delta 3 is about to die, she won't be able to walk away. How do you know? Because that's who she is. Hendricks met Rourke's eyes. People like her don't do this for money or orders. They do it because they can't stop. It's in their blood. Rourke wanted to argue, wanted to maintain chain of command, protocol, all the things that kept operations clean and accountable. But he looked at the map again, at the red marks indicating Delta 3's position, at the enemy complex that was about to swallow 6 more men whole. He grabbed his jacket. "Show me where she is." Thus, they found her exactly where Hendricks said, leaning against a Humvee near the motor pool, cleaning dirt from under her fingernails with a small knife. She looked up as they approached, expression neutral. "Captain." Rourke stopped 3 feet away. The SEALs hung back, watching. "We have a situation." "I heard." "You heard?" The whole base heard. Radios aren't exactly quiet. Rourke glanced at Cole, who shrugged. Mara's observation post had perfect line of sight to the operations center. Of course she'd been listening. "Then you know Delta 3 is in trouble," Rourke said. "Yes. They need fire support. Suppression on enemy positions so the QRF can extract them." Mara folded the knife, pocketed it. "You have Apaches inbound." "Can't get clear shots. Too much cloud cover and Delta's too close to the targets." "Then use artillery." "Same problem. Danger close. High risk of fratricide." Mara looked past him, toward the north, where Delta 3 was slowly being surrounded. "What do you want from me, Captain?" Rourke hesitated. The words stuck in his throat. Finally, he forced them out. "I need you to do what you did for Echo Team." "You mean conduct an unauthorized operation outside my job description?" "I mean save lives." Mara studied him. "You told me if I went rogue again, you'd fire me." "I did." "And now you're asking me to go rogue." "I'm asking you to help." "That's the same thing." Rourke's hands clenched. 6 men are going to die in the next hour unless someone can take out those machine guns. You're the only person on this base who can make those shots. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do. Echo Team confirmed it. 25 targets, 8 minutes, 800 meters. That's not luck. That's skill. And right now, I need that skill." Mara was quiet for a long moment. Then, "What's the distance?" Cole stepped forward with a tablet, pulled up the map. 1,200 meters. Maybe more. 1,200? Mara's eyebrow raised slightly. "In what conditions?" "High humidity, variable wind, heavy vegetation, 3 hardened positions with overlapping fields of fire." "How many shooters per position?" "Thermal shows 2 to 3 per gun. So 9 targets minimum." "Yes." Mara looked at the map, calculating. "I'll need 30 minutes to reach an effective hide. Another 10 to set up. That gives you a 40-minute window before Delta 3 gets overrun." Rourke checked his watch. "They've got maybe 50 minutes before enemy patrols close the net. Can you do it?" Mara met his eyes. "Yes." "No hesitation?" "No." Hendricks stepped forward. "You'll need support. We can—" "No." Mara cut him off. "I work alone. This is an Echo Team. This is a fortified compound with 50-plus hostiles. You need backup." "Backup slows me down." Carver crossed his arms. "Or keeps you alive." Mara looked at him, expression unreadable. "I've been doing this longer than you've been in the service. I know my limits." "We're not questioning your ability," Nash said carefully. "We're offering help." "I don't need help. I need time and a clear field of fire." Rourke held up a hand. "Kessler, if you're going to do this, you're doing it with comms. I need to coordinate with the QRF, with air support, with Delta 3. That means you stay on the net." Mara paused, then nodded. "Fine. But I run the timeline. Nobody moves until I say." "That's the deal, Captain. Take it or find someone else." Rourke wanted to argue, wanted to assert command, but he looked at her standing there, small, calm, utterly confident, and knew he didn't have a choice. "Deal." Mara turned and walked toward the armory. The group followed, silent, watching as she unlocked a nondescript storage locker and pulled out her pack. The same battered Eberle stock, the same worn straps. She slung it over her shoulders, checked the weight distribution, adjusted the fit. Every movement precise, practiced, muscle memory from countless repetitions. Hendricks watched her, fascinated. "Where'd you learn to move like that?" Mara glanced at him. "Practice?" "That's not an answer." "It's the only one you're getting." She turned to Rourke. "I need updated wind data and a backup radio frequency." Cole handed her a handset. "Channel 7, encrypted. Winds gusting northeast, 10 to 15 knots at ground level, probably stronger at elevation." Mara clipped the radio to her vest, tested it. "Delta 3's call sign?" "Reaper 6. QRF. Guardian 1. Air support?" "Hawk 27. Mara nodded, committing the information to memory. Then she pulled out a small device, a handheld weather station, and checked readings. Temperature, humidity, barometric pressure. Her lips moved silently, running calculations. Finally, she looked up. "I'm moving in 5. Nobody follows." "Kessler?" "5 minutes, Captain. Use them to brief the QRF. Tell them not to move until they hear from me." She walked past them, heading for the north gate. Rourke started to follow, but Hendricks caught his arm. "Let her go. She's walking into a shitstorm. And she's done it before. Probably dozens of times. Trust her." Rourke watched Mara disappear into the darkness beyond the wire. "What if she doesn't come back?" Hendricks looked down at the coin in his hand. "Then we'll know who she really was." Mara moved through the jungle like a ghost. No light, no sound, just smooth, efficient movement that covered ground faster than seemed possible. She navigated by feel and memory, reading terrain through touch and instinct, avoiding paths that would slow her or expose her. 1,200 meters, 40 minutes. Not much time, but enough. She found the high ground she needed, a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley, with clear line of sight to the compound below. Perfect elevation, perfect angle, perfect concealment. She set up quickly, assembling her rifle with the same practiced efficiency. The weapon came together in her hands like an extension of her body, barrel, bolt, stock, scope. No wasted motion, no hesitation. When it was ready, she settled into position and glassed the compound through her optic. 3 machine gun positions, exactly as Intel reported. 2 PKMs and what looked like a Browning M2. Hardened bunkers with sandbag reinforcement. Fields of fire that covered every approach route. And behind them, the main compound. Buildings, vehicles, personnel moving in organized patterns. This wasn't a ragtag militia. This was a trained, disciplined force. Mara's jaw tightened. She keyed her radio. "Ridgepoint Actual, this is Overwatch. In position." Rourke's voice crackled back immediately. "Copy Overwatch. Status? 3 targets confirmed. 9 shooters minimum. Recommend you hold QRF until guns are suppressed." "How long?" 5 minutes. 5 minutes? Rourke sounded incredulous. "That's 9 targets at 1,200 meters. "I'm aware." A pause. Then, "You're sure you can do this?" Mara adjusted her scope, dialed in the elevation. "Yes." Another pause. "Reaper 6, this is Ridgepoint Actual. Overwatch is engaging enemy positions. Stand by for suppression." A new voice, younger, scared. "Ridgepoint, Reaper 6, we don't have 5 minutes. They're closing in." "Reaper 6, trust me. 5 minutes. We don't have—" "You'll have it." Mara's voice cut in, calm and certain. "Reaper 6, this is Overwatch. I need you to mark your position with IR strobe. I'm going to clear your route." Silence. Then, "Who is this?" "Someone who's going to keep you alive. Mark your position." A hesitation. Then, "Marking now." Mara spotted the infrared strobe through her scope, a faint pulse invisible to the naked eye. She calculated distance, trajectory, wind drift. 1,200 meters. 9 targets. 5 minutes. She exhaled slowly. The first machine gun position sat on the western ridge. 2 shooters visible, 1 on the gun, 1 feeding belt. They were scanning the valley, confident, relaxed. Mara's crosshairs settled on the gunner's head. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked. The suppressor muffled the sound to a sharp crack that the wind scattered. 1,200 meters away, the gunner's head snapped back. He collapsed over the weapon. The assistant gunner froze, confused. Mara's second shot took him through the chest before he could react. 2 down. The second position erupted in activity. They'd heard something. Gunfire, maybe, or just the impact of bullets nearby. They started scanning, searching for threats. Mara tracked the movement, found the gunner, fired. He dropped. The loader grabbed for the weapon. Mara's next shot found him mid-reach. 4 down. The third position, the one with the Browning M2, was the hardest. Heavier bunker. Better concealment. The gunner was barely visible, just a shadow behind sandbags. Mara waited. Patient. Still. Movement. The gunner shifted, exposing his shoulder. She fired. The round punched through sandbags and flesh. The gunner jerked, then slumped. 5 down. His backup moved to take over. Mara was already tracking. She fired before he reached the gun. 6 down. The compound was in chaos now, voices shouting, people running. They knew they were under fire but couldn't locate the source. Mara shifted aim to the remaining shooters. 2 more at the western position, 1 at the eastern bunker. She took them in sequence, methodical and precise. 7, 8, 9. 5 minutes, 9 targets, 9 shots. The machine guns went silent. Mara keyed her radio. Ridge Point, Overwatch. All guns suppressed. Route is clear. Rourke's voice was tight with awe. Copy Overwatch. Guardian 1, you're clear to move. The QRF vehicles surged forward, engines roaring, racing toward Delta 3's position. Mara watched through her scope, providing Overwatch, searching for new threats. A fighter emerged from a bunker, carrying an RPG. Mara dropped him before he could shoulder the weapon. Another tried to man the Western machine gun. She killed him mid-stride. The QRF reached Delta 3. Reaper 6's team scrambled into vehicles, wounded and exhausted. Within seconds, they were moving, pulling back toward friendly lines. Mara kept watching, kept shooting. Anyone who tried to pursue, anyone who tried to reposition, anyone who posed a threat. 10, 11, 12. The convoy cleared the kill zone, engines fading into the distance. Mara scanned one more time. No movement, no threats. She keyed her radio. Ridgepoint, Overwatch, Delta 3 is clear, extraction complete. Outstanding work, Overwatch. Return to base. Mara didn't respond. She was already packing up, breaking down the rifle, securing gear. But as she worked, movement caught her eye. A figure emerging from the main compound building, different from the others, slower, deliberate. She brought up her scope. An older man, maybe 50, wearing what looked like officer insignia. He stood in the open, staring toward the ridgeline where Mara hid, like he knew she was there, like he was looking right at her. He raised something to his eyes. Binoculars. Mara's finger hovered over the trigger. 1 shot, clean kill. Take out what was clearly the commander. But something stopped her, the way he stood, the way he stared. Not afraid, not angry, curious. He lowered the binoculars. For a moment, their eyes met across 1,200 meters of jungle and darkness. Then he smiled and walked back inside. Mara's blood went cold. She keyed her radio. Ridgepoint, Overwatch, we have a problem. What kind of problem? They know I'm here, and they're not running. Rourke's voice sharpened. Explain. The commander, he spotted me, or spotted the position. Either way, they know there's a sniper on this ridge. Can you relocate? Yes, but... The first mortar round whistled overhead. Mara rolled left, hard, just as the round impacted 20 meters from her position. The explosion lit up the night, shrapnel screaming through trees. Shit! She grabbed her pack, rifle still in pieces. They're bracketing me. I need to move now. Overwatch, fall back. We'll send... Another round hit, closer this time. Dirt and rocks rained down. Mara didn't wait. She sprinted downhill, pack bouncing, carrying the disassembled rifle in her arms. Behind her, mortars kept falling, walking toward her previous position in steady increments. They were good. Whoever was directing that fire knew what they were doing. She slid into a ravine, caught her breath, started reassembling the rifle on the move. Bolt slammed home. Stock locked. Scope attached. Voices ahead. Patrol. Coming fast. Mara dropped prone, brought the rifle up. 3 fighters moving in tactical formation. Searching. She fired 3 times in quick succession. All 3 dropped. but the shots gave away her position. Voices called out in the darkness. More fighters converged. Mara moved again, low and fast, using terrain for cover. Rounds snapped past her head, close, too close. She rolled behind a boulder, came up shooting. 2 more targets down. The radio crackled. Overwatch, what's your status? Engaged. Multiple hostiles. Breaking contact. Guardian 1 is turning back to extract you. Negative. Too hot. I'll make it out. Overwatch. An RPG detonated against the boulder she'd just left. The blast wave threw her forward. She hit the ground hard, ears ringing, vision blurred. Move. She had to move. Mara pushed to her feet, swaying. Blood ran down her face from a cut above her eye. Her rifle was somewhere in the dark. She drew her sidearm, a Glock 19, worn but reliable, and started running. The jungle opened into a clearing. Wrong direction. Exposed. She had no choice. She ran. Gunfire erupted behind her. Rounds tore through vegetation, kicking up dirt at her feet. Then ahead, headlights, the QRF racing toward her. The lead vehicle skidded to a stop. Hendricks leaned out, arm extended. Get in! Mara didn't argue. She grabbed his hand, let him haul her into the truck. The vehicle surged forward before she was fully inside, tires spinning. Gunfire chased them. Rounds pinged off armor. Someone returned fire from the truck bed. Nash unloading with an M240. They crashed through brush, bounced over ruts, engine screaming. Finally, they hit the main road and accelerated hard. Mara sat in the back, breathing hard, checking herself for wounds. Cuts, bruises, nothing serious. Hendricks handed her a water bottle. You okay? Yeah. That was too close. I've had closer. He stared at her. Who the hell are you? Mara drank, wiped blood from her face. Someone who just lost her rifle. That's not what I meant. She met his eyes, and for the first time she didn't deflect, didn't redirect. She just looked at him, tired, bloody, but still standing, and said quietly, I'm someone who used to be very good at this, and apparently I still am. Hendricks nodded slowly. Yeah, you are. The convoy raced through the night, back toward Ridge Point. Behind them, the compound burned, and in Mara's pocket 2 coins rested side by side. Old and new, past and present, both earned, both carried, both reminders of who she'd been, and who she'd never stopped being. The operators stood in a loose circle around the fallen log where Mara had been sitting moments before. The impression of her weight was still visible in the soft moss, a ghost of presence that was already fading. Hendricks knelt and picked up something half buried in the dirt, the coin she'd dropped. The metal was tarnished, scratched, the emblem barely visible. But he recognized it immediately. His hand closed around it slowly. Chief? Nash stood behind him, rifle held low. What is it? Hendricks didn't answer right away. He turned the coin over, reading the inscription on the reverse. A date, a motto, a legacy that officially didn't exist anymore. She was one of us, he said quietly. Carver stepped closer. What do you mean, one of us? Hendricks held up the coin. The other SEALs crowded in, staring. Recognition dawned on their faces one by one. Mills exhaled sharply. No way. What? Reyes looked between them, confused. What am I missing? Nash took the coin from Hendricks, studying it under his headlamp. This is from UNIT, the old task force. The one that got disbanded after the Senate hearings, Carver finished. The black site interrogations. The whole thing went public and they shut it down. That was 5 years ago, Mills said, and that unit was all male. No women. Officially, Hendricks corrected. He stood staring into the jungle where Mara had disappeared. But there were rumors, stories about a female operator attached to certain teams. No name, no official record, just ghost stories. Nash handed the coin back. You think that was her? I think we just got saved by someone who's supposed to not exist. The team fell silent. Around them the jungle breathed, insects chittering, leaves rustling, the distant call of something that might have been a bird or might have been something else entirely. Finally, Carver spoke. So what do we do? Hendricks pocketed the coin. We go back to base. We tell them she saved our lives, and we don't ask questions we don't want answered. Rourke's going to push. Let him. He won't find anything. How do you know? Hendricks met his eyes. Because people like her don't leave trails. That's the whole point. Dawn broke over Ridge Point forward base like a wound, raw and red and unforgiving. Mara walked through the main gate just as the sun crested the eastern ridge, her boots caked with mud, her jacket soaked through with dew and rain that had never fully stopped. PFC Daniels was still on duty, exhausted and bleary-eyed. He saw her coming and straightened reflexively. "Ma'am, you were gone all night." "I was." "Should I log that?" Mara stopped, met his eyes. "What would you log exactly?" Daniels hesitated. I don't know." "Then don't." She walked past him into the base. Behind her, Daniels stared at his duty roster, pen hovering over blank space, then quietly closed the logbook without writing anything. The base was waking up, soldiers stumbling out of tents, heading to latrines, lighting cigarettes, starting the daily grind of military life in a forward deployment. Mara moved through them like water through stones, unnoticed and unremarkable. She made it halfway to the intel tent before a voice called out, "Kessler, hold up." She turned. Master Sergeant Cole was jogging toward her, jaw set, eyes hard. He stopped 3 feet away, breathing heavily. "Captain wants to see you." "I'll stop by later." "He wants to see you now." Mara studied him for a moment. "Is that an order?" "It's a strong suggestion." "I'm not military, Sergeant. Suggestions don't carry much weight." Cole's face reddened. "Listen, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you don't get to waltz in here, shoot up half the countryside, and then pretend you're just another contractor pushing paper." "I'm not pretending anything." "Then what the hell are you?" Mara's expression didn't change. "Tired, and in need of a shower." She turned to leave. Cole grabbed her arm. The movement was fast, instinctive, his hand closing on her bicep, trying to stop her. What happened next was faster. Mara pivoted, broke his grip with a sharp twist, and had his wrist locked and hyperextended before he could blink. She didn't hurt him, didn't apply pressure, just held him there, locked in place, completely neutralized. Their eyes met. "Don't grab me," she said quietly. Cole froze, shock and embarrassment warring across his face. Around them, several soldiers had stopped to watch. The moment stretched, tense and fragile. Then Mara released him and stepped back. Cole rubbed his wrist, face burning. "Where the hell did you learn that?" "Here and there?" "That's not an answer." "It's the one you're getting." She adjusted her pack. "Tell the captain I'll see him after I clean up." He said now. And I said after. Mara's voice stayed level, but something in her tone changed, hardened. "I've been in the field for 16 hours. I'm covered in mud and blood that isn't mine. I'm going to shower, change, and eat something. Then I'll talk to whoever wants to talk to me. That's not negotiable." Cole opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. Because despite everything, despite rank, despite authority, despite the entire military chain of command, something in Mara's eyes told him that pushing further would be a mistake. 1 hour, he said finally. 2. Kessler? 2 hours, Sergeant. Or he can come find me himself. She walked away. Cole stood there, breathing hard, feeling like he'd just lost a fight he hadn't known he was in. One of the watching soldiers whistled low. "Damn, Master Sergeant, she handled you." Cole shot him a glare that could have melted steel. "Shut up and get back to work." But as the crowd dispersed, Cole stared after Mara, mind racing. Because that wasn't just self-defense training. That was something else, something refined, something that came from years of practice against people who really wanted to hurt you. He pulled out his radio. "Cole to Captain Rourke." Rourke's voice came back immediately. "Go ahead." "Who? She's back on base. I tried to bring her in." "And?" Cole hesitated. "She'll be there in 2 hours." A pause. "Did she just refuse a direct order from me?" "She's not military, sir. She doesn't take orders." Another pause, longer this time, then quietly, "No, I suppose she doesn't." Mara stood under the lukewarm spray of the shower tent, letting water sluice away mud and cordite in the weight of the night. Her body ached, not from injury, but from exertion. 16 hours of movement, most of it through difficult terrain capped by 8 minutes of precision shooting that required absolute stillness and control. She'd done harder, had worse, but that didn't make it easy. When she finished, she dressed in clean contractor gear, cargo pants, olive drab shirt, boots that weren't caked in jungle mud. She pulled her hair back, checked herself in a cracked mirror, and saw what everyone else saw. Unremarkable, forgettable, safe. The mask was back in place. She grabbed her pack and headed toward the command tent. The base was fully awake now, bustling with activity. Soldiers and Marines moved with purpose. Vehicles rumbled past. Helicopters sat on the flight line being prepped for missions. Normal. Routine. Like last night had never happened. Except everyone was staring at her. Not openly, not obviously, but she felt the eyes tracking her movement. The whispered conversations that stopped when she passed. The weight of attention from people who'd heard stories and were trying to reconcile rumor with reality. She ignored it all. The command tent loomed ahead. 2 MPs stood outside, weapons slung, faces neutral. They nodded as she approached. "Ma'am, Captain's expecting you." "Thanks." She pushed through the canvas flap. Inside, the tent had been rearranged. The maps were still there, but now a folding table sat in the center with 4 chairs. Captain Rourke occupied one. Master Sergeant Cole another. In the third sat a man Mara didn't recognize. Mid-40s, civilian clothes, the kind of bland features that screamed intelligence officer. The 4th chair was empty. Waiting. Rourke stood. "Ms. Kessler, thank you for coming." Mara's eyes flicked to the stranger. "Who's he?" The man smiled thinly. "Special Agent Mark Calloway, Defense Intelligence Agency." DIA. Mara set her pack down carefully. "Interesting. Have a seat." "I'll stand." Calloway's smile didn't waver. It wasn't a request. Mara held his gaze for a long moment. Then she pulled out the chair and sat, back straight, hands folded on the table. Controlled, composed. Rourke cleared his throat. "Ms. Kessler, Agent Calloway is here to discuss last night's events." "There's nothing to discuss." "I disagree," Calloway said smoothly. "You conducted an unauthorized combat operation resulting in 25 enemy casualties. That requires documentation, review, understanding. I provided overwatch support for a friendly unit under fire. That's within my scope as a contractor. Your scope is intelligence analysis. My scope is whatever supports the mission." Calloway leaned back, studying her. "You're very confident." "I'm very good at my job." "Which job is that exactly?" Mara didn't answer. Calloway pulled a folder from his briefcase. Thick this time, not like the thin file Cole had shown Rourke. He opened it, flipped through pages. "Mara Kessler, age 32, contractor with Sentinel Global Solutions for 4 years. Prior to that, employment history is sparse. I worked private sector." "Doing what?" "Security consulting." "For whom?" "Various clients." Calloway smiled. "You're not very forthcoming. You're not asking the right questions." His smile faded. "Let me try a different approach. Before your contracting work, there's a 2-year gap in your employment history. What were you doing during that time?" "Traveling." "Where?" "Abroad." "That's vague." "It's accurate." Rourke leaned forward. "Ms. Kessler, we're trying to understand who you are, what your background is. Because the skill set you demonstrated last night doesn't come from security consulting or traveling abroad. Doesn't it?" "No," Calloway said flatly. "It comes from military training, special operations training, the kind that's restricted to Tier 1 units." Mara met his eyes. "I've never been in the military." "Your file confirms that. Then we agree." "But your file is incomplete." Calloway tapped the folder. 2 redacted references. No explanation for the employment gap. And a clearance that's secret level, but has special access program flags buried in the metadata. Mara's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her eyes. Awareness, calculation. Calloway caught it. "You didn't know about the SAP flags, did you?" "I know what my clearance covers." "Do you? Because those flags suggest you've had access to programs that officially don't exist." Programs that would require deep vetting, extensive training, and operational experience in denied areas. Silence. Rourke looked between them. What are you saying, Agent Calloway? I'm saying Ms. Kessler's background doesn't match her current position, and I'm wondering why. Maybe my background is none of your business, Mara said quietly. It became my business when you killed 25 people in 8 minutes. They were enemy combatants. They were targets engaged by someone with training and equipment that far exceeds what any contractor should possess. Should I have let Echo Team die? You should have stayed on base and let the professionals handle it. Mara's jaw tightened. The professionals were grounded by weather. So you took it upon yourself to conduct a solo direct action operation. I took it upon myself to save lives, using skills you claim not to have. I never claimed not to have them. I just don't advertise them. Calloway leaned forward. Who trained you? Instructors. Which instructors? The good ones. His eyes narrowed. You're being deliberately obtuse. I'm being appropriately cautious. Why? Because I don't know you. I don't know why you're here. And I don't know what you want. I want the truth. The truth, Mara said slowly, is that I did my job. Echo Team is alive. The mission succeeded. That's all that matters. It's not all that matters. Accountability matters. Oversight matters. The law matters. I didn't break any laws. You operated outside your authority. I operated within my conscience. Calloway's face flushed. Your conscience doesn't give you the right. My conscience is all I have. Mara's voice cut through his, sharp and final. You want to know who I am? I'm someone who couldn't live with herself if she'd stayed on base while good men died. That's it. That's the whole story. The tent went silent. Rourke spoke quietly. Agent Calloway, what exactly are you investigating here? Calloway didn't look away from Mara. Irregularities, inconsistencies, lies. I'm not lying, Mara said. You're not telling the truth either. I'm telling you everything you need to know. That's not the same thing. Mara stood. Are we done? No. I think we are. She picked up her pack. Unless you're formally detaining me, I'm leaving. Calloway stood too. Sit down, Ms. Kessler. No. That's an order. You don't have authority to give me orders. I have authority to investigate security breaches, and that's what this is. Mara's eyes hardened. What breach? You, your background, your access, your actions. Calloway stepped closer. You're a ghost pretending to be a contractor, and I'm going to find out why. For a long moment, they stood face to face. Mara was a full head shorter, but somehow she didn't look small. She looked dangerous. Good luck with that, she said softly. Then she walked out. Calloway started to follow, but Rourke caught his arm. Let her go. Captain, I said let her go. Rourke's voice was firm. She saved 6 of my men. Until you have proof of actual wrongdoing, you don't get to harass her. Calloway jerked his arm free. This isn't over. Maybe it should be. What's that supposed to mean? Rourke met his eyes. It means maybe some questions don't need answers. Maybe some people do their jobs and we should let them. That's not how this works. Then maybe it should be. Calloway stared at him, then shook his head. You're making a mistake, Captain. Probably. But it's my mistake to make. Calloway grabbed his briefcase and stormed out. Cole watched him go, then turned to Rourke. Sir, what just happened? Rourke sat down heavily. I think we just learned that Mara Kessler has friends in very high places, and enemies too. Which is she to us? I don't know yet. Rourke rubbed his face. But I know one thing. What's that? She scares the hell out of DIA, and anyone who scares DIA is someone we should probably leave alone. Ish. Mara walked across the base, mind churning. The SAP flags were a problem. She hadn't known they were there, which meant someone had put them there without telling her. Insurance, maybe. Or leverage. She needed to make a call. The communications tent sat on the western edge of base, a converted shipping container stuffed with radio equipment, satellite uplinks, and secure phone lines. A board specialist sat inside, playing on his phone. He looked up as Mara entered. Help you, ma'am? I need to use a secure line. Which one? The red phone. His eyebrows rose. The red phone was reserved for classified communications, emergency traffic, high-level coordination. Ma'am, I'd need authorization. Mara pulled out her ID and showed him the back. There was a code stamp there, small and easy to miss. The specialist's eyes widened. Oh, yes, ma'am, right away. He practically jumped out of his chair, gestured to the phone, and fled the container. Mara waited until he was gone, then picked up the receiver and dialed a number from memory. No directory, no written record, just digits burned into her brain from years of use. It rang once, twice. Then a voice answered. Female, professional, giving nothing away. Authentication? Nightingale 77 Delta. A pause. Typing. Then, verified. Hold for connection. The line clicked. Silence. Then another voice, older, rougher, male. I was wondering when you'd call. Mara closed her eyes. You flagged my clearance. I protected your clearance. There's a difference. DIA just tried to interrogate me. I know, Calloway's overeager. I'll handle him. Handle him how? Does it matter? Yes. A sigh. You know I can't tell you that. Then why did you flag me? Because someone was digging, someone with access. I needed to make sure they found breadcrumbs instead of the whole loaf. Mara's grip on the phone tightened. Who's digging? I don't know yet, but they're good. Professional. They went after your old unit records first, then started working backwards through your contractor history. Old unit doesn't exist anymore. Officially, but the records do. Buried, encrypted, and someone found them. How? That's what I'm trying to figure out. The voice paused. Mara, you need to be careful. What you did last night, saving those seals, it was the right call, but it put you on radar. People are asking questions. Let them ask. They won't just ask, they'll dig. And if they dig deep enough, they'll find nothing because there's nothing to find. We both know that's not true. Mara didn't respond. The voice softened slightly. How are you holding up? I'm fine. You're always fine, until you're not. I appreciate the concern, but I didn't call for a welfare check. I know, you called because you're worried, and you should be, because whoever's digging isn't going to stop, not until they get answers. Then I'll give them answers, the ones I choose. That might not be enough. It'll have to be. Another pause. Then, if you need extraction, say the word. I can have you out of there in 12 hours. I'm not running. This isn't running. It's strategic repositioning. Call it whatever you want. I'm staying. Why? The job's done. You saved the seals. Mission accomplished. Mara looked out through the container's small window, across the base, toward the jungle beyond. Because there are still people here who might need help. You can't save everyone. I can try. The voice sighed, weary and knowing. You sound just like her, you know. Same stubborn streak. Same refusal to accept reality. Mara's throat tightened. Don't. I'm just saying it. I know what you're saying, and I don't want to hear it. Silence stretched between them, heavy with history and grief. Finally, the voice spoke again. Be careful, Nightingale. The people asking questions won't stop until they get answers, and the answers they want might not be the ones you're willing to give. Then I'll give them different answers. That only works for so long. Long enough. I hope you're right. Me too. The line clicked, dead. Mara hung up and stood there, breathing slowly, centering herself. Outside, the base hummed with activity. Normal life. Normal problems. She stepped out of the container. The specialist was waiting nearby, trying not to look like he was eavesdropping. All set, ma'am? All set. She walked away, leaving him staring after her with the same confused, curious expression everyone seemed to wear when she passed. That night, Mara sat in the intel tent, alone, working through reports that didn't need her attention. Busy work. distraction. Anything to keep her hands occupied and her mind from wandering to places she didn't want to go. The tent flap opened. She looked up, expecting Cole or Rourke, or maybe even Calloway again. Instead, Chief Hendricks stood there, still in field gear, mud-streaked and exhausted. "Got a minute?" he asked. Mara set down her pen. "Sure." He stepped inside, letting the flap fall closed behind him. For a moment he just stood there, studying her. Then he reached into his vest and pulled out the coin, the one he'd found in the jungle. He set it on her desk. "You dropped this." Mara looked at it, then at him. "Keep it. It's yours." "Not anymore." "Why not?" She didn't answer. Hendricks pulled up a chair, sat down across from her. "I know what this is, what it means." "Do you?" "Yeah, I do." He leaned forward. "I also know that Unit doesn't exist anymore. Hasn't for 5 years. So either you stole this coin, or you were part of something that officially never happened." Mara met his eyes. "Which do you think?" "I think you saved my team, and I think you've saved a lot of other teams too. And I think you don't get the credit you deserve because people like you aren't supposed to exist." "People like me don't exist." "Bullshit." His voice was quiet but fierce. "You exist. You're sitting right here, and last night you did something nobody else could do, so don't give me that ghost story crap." Mara almost smiled. Almost. "What do you want, Chief?" "I want to say thank you, properly. Not in the middle of a firefight or a jungle or with a dozen people listening, just thank you." "You already did." "Not enough." He pushed the coin across the desk. "Take this. Not because I'm giving it to you, because it's already yours. You earned it years ago. I'm just returning it." Mara stared at the coin. Her hand moved toward it, hesitated, then closed around it. "Thank you," she said quietly. "No, thank you." Hendricks stood. "One more thing." "What?" "Calloway came to debrief us, asked a lot of questions about you." "What did you tell him?" "That you saved our lives and we don't know anything else." "He believe you?" "Probably not, but he can't prove otherwise." Hendricks paused at the tent flap. "He's going to keep digging, you know. Guys like him don't let go." "I know." "You worried?" Mara looked up. "Should I be?" "I don't know. Are there things he shouldn't find?" A long pause. Then, "Yes." Hendricks nodded slowly. "Then watch your back, because if he finds them, it won't just be you who pays the price." He left. Mara sat alone, turning the coin over in her fingers, feeling the weight of it, metal and memory, legacy and loss. On the desk, her sat phone buzzed. A message. No number, just text. 3 more weeks. Then you're out. Don't do anything stupid. She deleted the message, powered down the phone, and sat in silence. Outside, thunder rolled. Another storm coming. Mara stood, pocketed the coin, and walked out into the rain. Because some storms you couldn't avoid. You just had to walk through them and hope you came out the other side. The rain came down harder, turning the compound into a maze of shadows and streaming water. Mara walked through it without hurrying, letting the downpour wash over her like absolution she didn't deserve and couldn't accept. She made it to the perimeter wire before she heard footsteps behind her, heavy, deliberate, closing fast. "Kessler?" She turned. 3 figures emerged from the rain. Echo Team, Hendricks, Carver, and Nash. All armed, all serious. Mara's hand drifted toward her sidearm, then stopped. "Chief!" Hendricks raised both hands, showing empty palms. "Easy. We're not here to fight." "Then why are you here?" "Because you're about to do something stupid." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Like what?" "Like disappear." Nash stepped forward, rain streaming off his helmet. "We saw you pack your gear, saw you check the perimeter schedule. You're planning to walk off this base and never come back. That's not your concern. It is when DIA's about to burn you for saving our lives," Carver said flatly. "We heard Calloway talking to someone on his sat phone. He's bringing in investigators. Wants to tear apart your whole background. Let him. He'll destroy you. He'll try." Hendricks stepped closer. "Mara, listen to me. We owe you. All of us. If you run now, that debt stays unpaid, and that's not how we operate. I don't need your protection. Maybe not, but you're getting it anyway. Mara shook her head. You don't understand. The things Calloway wants to find, they're not just about me. They're about operations that need to stay buried, people who need to stay safe. If he keeps digging, people die. Then we stop him from digging. You can't. Watch us. Nash's voice was hard. We're SEALs. We're really good at making problems disappear. This isn't that kind of problem. Every problem is that kind of problem if you approach it right. Mara almost smiled. Almost. You're talking about threatening a federal agent. We're talking about protecting one of our own, Hendricks corrected. And you are one of our own, whether you want to be or not. The words hit harder than Mara expected. She looked at them. These men who barely knew her, who had every reason to walk away, who were standing in the rain offering loyalty she hadn't asked for and didn't know how to accept. Why? She asked quietly. Because you didn't hesitate, Hendricks said. When we needed help, you didn't ask permission, didn't worry about consequences. You just acted. That's what we do. That's who we are. So yeah, you're one of us. Carver nodded. Plus, anyone who can shoot like that deserves backup. Nash grinned. And we really don't want to see what happens if DIA pisses you off. Despite everything, Mara felt something crack inside her. The armor she'd worn for years, the walls she'd built to keep everyone at arm's length. For just a moment, she let them see past it. See the exhaustion, the loneliness, the weight of too many secrets carried too long. I appreciate what you're offering, she said, but this isn't your fight. You made it our fight when you saved our lives. I was doing my job. Bullshit. Your job is pushing paper. What you did was something else entirely. Hendricks pulled out the coin again, held it up. This says you've been fighting for people your whole life, long before you were a contractor, long before any of us knew you existed. Mara stared at the coin, at the symbols that meant brotherhood, sacrifice, legacy, at the reminder of everything she'd lost and everything she'd tried to leave behind. That unit is gone, she said. Units die. Legacy doesn't. Hendricks pressed the coin into her hand. You earned this. You earned our respect, and you earned the right to not face this alone. For a long moment, Mara stood there, rain streaming down her face, the coin heavy in her palm. Then she closed her fingers around it and nodded once. Okay. 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 I won't run. Not yet. Nash exhaled in relief. Thank Christ. But you need to understand something, Mara continued. If Calloway finds what he's looking for, it's not just me who goes down. It's everyone who was part of what I did, everyone who covered for it, everyone who believed the mission mattered more than the rules. How many people are we talking about? Carver asked. Enough. Hendricks met her eyes. Then we make sure he doesn't find anything. How? A slow smile crossed his face. Leave that to us. The next morning, Agent Calloway sat in a borrowed office, surrounded by files, laptops, and a growing sense of frustration. He'd been digging for 12 hours straight and had found exactly nothing useful. Mara Kessler's background was a maze of dead ends and redactions. Every promising lead vanished into classified databases he couldn't access. Every reference came back as unavailable for comment. Even her financial records were clean, too clean. The kind of clean that suggested professional sanitization. He was missing something. He knew it. He just couldn't figure out what. A knock at the door. Come in. Master Sergeant Cole entered, looking uncomfortable. Sir, you asked to see me? I did. Sit down. Cole sat, face neutral. Calloway studied him, the squared shoulders, the careful eye contact, the slight tension in his jaw. Military discipline hiding something. I need your honest assessment of Mara Kessler, Calloway said. She's a contractor, intelligence liaison. I know her job title. I want to know what you think of her. Cole hesitated. She keeps to herself. Does her work. Doesn't cause trouble. Until 3 nights ago, when she killed 25 people. She saved 6 of ours. By conducting an unauthorized operation. She provided support when our assets were unavailable. Calloway leaned forward. Sergeant, I'm trying to figure out who this woman really is, and I think you know more than you're saying. I know she's good at her job. Her real job, not the one in her file. Cole's expression hardened. With respect, sir, I don't know what you're implying. I'm implying that Mara Kessler isn't what she appears to be, and I think you figured that out. Just like I think Echo Team has figured it out. Just like I think everyone on this base knows there's something off about her. Off how? That's what I'm asking you. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Cole spoke carefully. Sir, all I know is that when our guys needed help, she provided it. She risked her life to save theirs. Everything else, her background, her training, whatever she did before she came here, that's her business. It's my business when it involves national security. Does it? I think so. Based on what? The fact that she's competent? The fact that she has skills most contractors don't? That's not evidence of wrongdoing. That's just evidence of someone who's good at what they do. Calloway's eyes narrowed. You're protecting her. I'm stating facts. You're giving me the runaround. Cole stood. Sir, I've told you everything I know. If you want more, you'll have to ask her directly. I tried. She won't talk. Then maybe that's your answer. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe some questions aren't meant to be answered. Maybe some people do their jobs and we should just let them. It was almost word for word what Rourke had said. Calloway's jaw clenched. You've been talking to the captain. We're on the same base. We talk. About Kessler. About a lot of things. Calloway stood too, frustration boiling over. Listen to me very carefully, Sergeant. I don't care how many lives she saved. I don't care if she's the second coming of Annie Oakley. If she's operating under false pretenses, if she's hiding something that poses a security risk, I will find it. And when I do, anyone who helped cover for her will go down too. Do you understand? Cole met his eyes, unflinching. I understand perfectly, sir. Good. Dismissed. Cole saluted and left. Calloway sat back down, hands shaking with anger. Everyone was protecting her. Every single person on this base had closed ranks around a woman they barely knew. Why? His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stop digging. This is your only warning. Calloway stared at it, pulse quickening. He typed back, Who is this? No response. He tried to trace the number. Encrypted. Routed through servers in 3 different countries. Professional work. Someone was watching him, someone with resources. The smart move would be to back off. Report what he'd found, let someone else take over, walk away clean. But Calloway hadn't gotten where he was by making smart moves. He'd gotten there by being thorough, relentless, by never letting go until he had answers. He pulled up Kessler's file again and started from the beginning. There had to be something, some thread he could pull, and he was going to find it. Mara stood on the shooting range, running drills she didn't need, muscle memory exercises that kept her hands busy while her mind worked through scenarios. Calloway wouldn't stop. She knew the type. Obsessive, driven, convinced he was on the side of righteousness. He'd dig until he found something, and when he did, everything would unravel, unless she gave him something else to find. A misdirection, a controlled revelation, something that satisfied his need for answers without exposing the truth. She was still working through the logistics when Hendricks appeared at her shoulder. We need to talk. She lowered her weapon. About? About how to handle Calloway. I'm working on it. So are we. He nodded toward a Jeep parked nearby. Nash and Carver sat inside, waiting. Get in. They drove to the far edge of base to a maintenance shed that nobody used. Inside, someone had set up a makeshift operations center. Laptops, radios, tactical maps. Reyes was there, fingers flying across a keyboard. Mills sat nearby, reviewing documents. The whole team had mobilized. Mara stared. What is this? This, Hendricks said, is us taking care of a problem. I told you. We know what you told us, and we ignored it. He gestured to Reyes. Show her. Reyes pulled up a file on his screen. Agent Mark Calloway, DIA investigator, 15 years with the agency. Good record, clean background, but he's got a reputation for being zealous. Zealous how? Mara asked. He's launched 11 major investigations in the last 5 years. 3 resulted in prosecutions. 5 resulted in ruined careers for people who were technically innocent but got caught in his net. Guy's a hammer looking for nails. Mills added, he also has a pattern. When he can't find direct evidence, he builds circumstantial cases, pressures witnesses, makes deals with people who have something to hide. Mara's stomach tightened. You think he'll go after people close to me? We think he'll go after anyone he can leverage, including us. Nash leaned forward. So we're going to give him a reason to back off. How? Hendricks smiled. By making him think his investigation is compromised. Mara frowned. I don't understand. Calloway's bosses at DIA don't know he's here, Reyes explained. He came in on a temporary assignment, supposed to be doing routine security reviews, but he's using it as cover to pursue his own investigation. If his superiors found out he's going rogue, he'd be recalled, Mara finished. Exactly. So we tell his bosses. Not we. You. Hendricks met her eyes. You still have friends in high places, right? People who can make phone calls? Mara thought of the voice on the other end of the secure line. The person who'd flagged her clearance, who'd offered extraction, who'd been running interference for years. Maybe. Then make the call. Because if Calloway keeps pushing, someone's going to get hurt. And I'd rather it be him than you. Mara looked around the shed, at these men who'd reorganized their entire world to protect someone who was still basically a stranger. Men who'd taken her word over every regulation, every protocol, every reasonable objection. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. Because you're worth it, Hendricks said simply. Nash nodded. Plus, we really hate DIA. Even Carver cracked a smile. They tried to recruit me once. Assholes. Despite everything, Mara laughed, short and surprised and genuine. These men were insane, reckless, loyal to a fault, exactly the kind of people she'd spent years trying to avoid, and exactly the kind of people she needed right now. Okay, she said. I'll make the call. 24 hours later, Agent Calloway received an encrypted email from his direct supervisor at DIA. Return to DC immediately. Investigation suspended pending review. He stared at it, disbelieving. Then he called his supervisor directly. Sir, I don't understand. I'm making progress here. You're making enemies, the supervisor cut him off. And those enemies have friends. Important friends. Who? I can't tell you that. Sir, this investigation is legitimate. Kessler is hiding something. I don't care if she's hiding Jimmy Hoffa. You're done. Get on a plane and get back here before this blows up in both our faces. But that's an order, Calloway. The line went dead. Calloway sat in stunned silence. Someone had burned him. Someone with enough juice to reach into DIA and shut down his investigation with a single phone call. He thought about fighting it, about going over his supervisor's head, about leaking what he'd found to the press, about doing something, anything, to keep pursuing the truth. But he was also smart enough to recognize when he'd lost. He packed his bags, deleted his files, and caught the next flight out of theater. As his plane lifted off, he looked down at Ridgepoint Forward Base, a collection of tents and vehicles and people who'd managed to keep secrets he couldn't crack. And somewhere down there, Mara Kessler was watching him leave. He'd failed. She'd won. But someday, he promised himself, he'd figure out the truth, even if it took the rest of his career. Mara stood at the perimeter wire, watching the transport plane disappear into the clouds. The sat phone in her hand was still warm from the call she'd made, the favor she'd called in, the protection she'd accepted. He's really gone? Hendricks appeared beside her. He's gone. For good? For now. Nash joined them, grinning. That was the most fun I've had in months. Carver snorted. You need better hobbies. Fighting DIA investigations is a hobby. That's unhealthy. Your face is unhealthy. Mara smiled despite herself. These men were children, professional, deadly children. Hendricks turned to her. So what now? Now I finish my contract. 3 more weeks, then I rotate out. And after that? I don't know yet. You could stay, work with us, officially. Mara shook her head. I work better alone. No one works better alone. They just think they do. Speaking from experience? Always. Hendricks extended his hand. Thanks for everything. Mara shook it. You're the ones who saved me. We just returned the favor. Nash stepped forward, followed by Carver, Mills, and Reyes. One by one, they shook her hand, each grip firm, each face sincere. When the last handshake ended, they stood in a loose circle, 7 people who'd become something like a team, even if just for a moment. One more thing, Hendricks said. He pulled out a small box, opened it. Inside lay a coin, new, polished, engraved with fresh symbols. Mara's breath caught. That's Echo Team, our coin, our legacy. He held it out. You earned this. Take it. Chief, I can't. You can. You did. And if you ever need us for anything, you flip that coin and we come running, all of us. No questions asked. Mara took the coin with shaking hands. The metal was warm, solid, real, a promise made in metal and meaning. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, Hendricks corrected. Now go get some rest. You look like hell. They dispersed, heading back to their duties, their lives, their routines. Mara stood alone at the wire, turning the coin over in her fingers. For years, she'd told herself she worked alone. The teams were liabilities, that caring about people made you weak. But standing there, holding proof of loyalty she hadn't asked for and didn't deserve, she realized something. She'd been wrong. Connection wasn't weakness. It was strength. And maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to carry everything alone anymore. Net. 3 weeks later, Mara packed her gear for the last time. The intel tent was exactly as she'd found it, clean, organized, impersonal, like she'd never been there at all. Captain Rourke appeared in the doorway. Heading out? Yes, sir. Your replacement arrives tomorrow, some kid fresh from Fort Meade. Doubt he'll be half as effective. Mara almost smiled. He'll do fine. Rourke stepped inside, hands in his pockets. I never got a chance to say this properly. Thank you. For Echo Team. For everything. Just doing my job. We both know that's not true. He pulled out an envelope. This came for you, from SOCOM. Mara took it, opened it. Inside was a letter, brief, formal, stamped with official seals. In recognition of extraordinary service under combat conditions, the Special Operations Command extends gratitude and commendation to contractor Mara Kessler. Your actions resulted in the preservation of 6 lives and the successful completion of a critical mission. While operational security precludes public recognition, your contribution will not be forgotten. No signature, no attribution, just acknowledgement from people who understood what she'd done and why it had to stay quiet. Mara folded the letter carefully. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me. I had nothing to do with it. Rourke paused. Can I ask you something? You can ask. Who were you before all this? Mara met his eyes. Someone who believed in the mission. And now? Someone who still does. Rourke nodded slowly. If you ever need a reference, you know where to find me. I appreciate that. He left. Mara finished packing, shouldered her bag, and walked out of the tent one final time. The base was busy with the morning routine. Soldiers jogging, vehicles moving, helicopters spinning up. Normal chaos, normal life. At the gate, Echo Team waited. All of them. Even the SEAL who'd been wounded, standing on his own now, still pale but alive. Hendricks stepped forward. Couldn't let you leave without saying goodbye. You didn't have to come. Yeah, we did. Nash handed her a package wrapped in brown paper. For the road. Mara unwrapped it. Inside was a photo. All of them together, taken the night before she left. 7 faces smiling at the camera, 7 people who'd become family in the space of weeks. Thank you, she said, voice tight. Stay safe out there, Carver said. You too, Mills nodded. If you ever need anything, I know, flip the coin. Reyes grinned. Damn right. Mara looked at each of them, memorizing faces, voices, the way they stood. Then she snapped to attention and saluted. Crisp, sharp, military. They returned it immediately, 7 hands rising in perfect synchronization. For 5 seconds, they held it. Then Mara dropped her hand, turned, and walked through the gate. She didn't look back. She didn't need to, because she knew Wherever she went, whatever she did next, she wasn't alone anymore. She had a team. And that made all the difference. 6 months later, in a small apartment in a city that didn't matter, Mara sat at a desk reviewing contract offers. Security consulting, private intelligence, training positions, all of them safe, legal, boring. Her phone buzzed. An encrypted message from an unknown number. Situation developing in East Africa. 6 operators trapped behind enemy lines. Rescue impossible through conventional means. Interested? Mara stared at the message for a long moment. Then she pulled out 2 coins from her desk drawer. The old one, worn and scarred from years of service, and the new one, polished and perfect, engraved with Echo Team's symbols. She set them side by side. A choice. A crossroads. A decision between the life she'd been trying to build and the life she'd never really left. Her fingers closed around both coins. She typed back a single word. Yes. Because some people were built for quiet lives. And some people were built to save the ones who couldn't save themselves. Mara Kessler was the latter, and she'd finally stopped pretending otherwise. Years later, in command tents and forward bases and places where warriors gathered, a story circulated, a legend, really, about a woman who appeared when all hope was lost, who took impossible shots in impossible conditions, who saved lives and disappeared before anyone could thank her properly. Some called her a ghost. Some called her a guardian angel. Some didn't believe she existed at all. But the operators who'd seen her work, who'd been saved by her skill and her courage and her absolute refusal to let good people die, they knew better. They carried her coin, told her story, honored her legacy. And every time someone needed help in the darkest moment, they hoped she'd appear. More often than not, she did. Because Mara Kessler had learned the truth that elite warriors understood instinctively. Power wasn't about recognition or rank or praise from people who didn't understand the cost. Power was about showing up when it mattered most, about doing the impossible because no one else could, about saving lives and asking nothing in return. That was true strength, true courage, true heroism, the kind that didn't need medals or monuments or glory, the kind that just needed a rifle, a target, and the absolute certainty that some things were worth fighting for. Echo Team never forgot her, never stopped looking for her in every contractor who rotated through, every quiet specialist who kept to themselves, every person who seemed unremarkable until the moment they weren't. And sometimes, on quiet nights when they gathered to remember fallen brothers and impossible missions, Chief Hendricks would pull out a coin, worn now from years of handling, and tell the story one more time, about the woman who walked into a storm to save strangers, who killed 25 enemies in 8 minutes, who refused to be thanked because that's not why she did it, and who proved something the world needed to hear. True power doesn't demand attention. It proves itself when everything is on the line.